My name is Greg Dozier. I'm the Commissioner of the Department of Corrections, and I'd like to say thank you for coming out today. Before I begin the briefing you on our assessment and the review of the factors leading up to last month's escape and brutal killing of our two officers, upon reviewing that, the reports outlined several alleged security breaches that led up to the escape that day. The first was a breach in the inmates' search process. I'll speak briefly in a minute, but we are aware that they were able to take a pen or a toothbrush on that bus that day. Number two, there was a breach in the cuffing. The inmates were not double locked, as we know a security practice that should be done. Within minutes after boarding that bus, they were able to get out of their cuffs. Not just them, but several others, as you will see in the report. Number three, the inmates were not continuously supervised on the bus. There were two occasions, once on the grounds at Baldwin and once on the ground at Hancock, that the offenders were left alone. Number four, the padlock on the security gate was not secured. This led to, on two occasions, the breach into the officer's compartment of the bus. The first being on the grounds of Hancock State Prison. While they were left unattended, they were able to use the alleged toothbrush to supposedly remove the unlocked padlock and enter the chamber of where the officers reside. During that time, they went through the officers' personal belongings, eating some of their food, and also drinking their drinks. The second breach was at the point of escape and the murders of our officers. The fifth breach was the duty equipment was not worn. Upon the breach of the compartment on the escape, the offenders were able to take the weapon that was stored on a shelf behind the officer and use that weapon for the murder and the escape. As a result of these findings, the following recommendations will be implemented. First and foremost, we'll be installing key retaining padlocks. What that means is we were through the GBI investigation to see that the padlock on that bus that day was operational and the key was on the key ring. We want to make sure that that key cannot come out without making sure that padlock is locked. So we will be implementing that immediately. Second, we will no longer use the duty officer as we assigned shortly after the event on the 14th to oversee the transportation processes. We'll be expanding the role of the security chief. The security chief will be the oversight at the facility. Obviously, the verification of double locks, the wearing of assigned duty gear, the locking of the bus, and many other things such as bus lightings. We'll be implementing a checklist before the bus leaves the ground. What you'll find in that report is some things that we do not believe led up to the escape, but obviously should not take place. Only one of the lights on the bus was working that day. So we'll be doing a pre-departure checklist. Number three, we'll be adding the permanent addition of the trail vehicle that we implemented shortly after the event. We'll also be providing preparedness for events such as this and others that may take place. Number four, one of the findings you will find in this report is that the video coverage was very good in the compartments where the inmates were, but we had very little coverage where the officers reside on the facility, in the bus. So we will be implementing video coverage of the entire bus. Number five, we will continue the refresher training mentioned on an annual basis. Number six, you'll see that some of the post orders were not up to date, having some old facilities still listed, things that should not take place. We'll be updating all post orders across the state. We will also have an extensive annual audit solely focused on transportation. Today that is a component of a audit of a facility, but we feel like the importance and the magnitude of transportation means that it should have an extensive audit solely for itself. and obviously many, many other things that we'll be looking and considering as we go through this process.